works on its way.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our last chapter meeting of the first half of our program here. We're glad to see a full room and a good complement of virtual attendees. For those who are here in person, show of hands for your first in-person dinner meeting. Great, welcome. And hopefully we'll see you again. A round of applause for our hardworking wait staff in the back of the house. Okay, who thinks the first half of the year is flown by? Yeah. Who thinks it's gone slow?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's ready for New Year's Eve? Okay. Okay. So, yep. Definitely for us, it's gone fast, but we hope we've continued to value your membership and giving you value throughout this first half of the program here. And we have a lot of exciting things in the second half. So. Which kicks off with our virtual education day. We tried to make the in-person event at Montgomery College work, but that doesn't look like it's going to work during their summer term. But we're still hoping for that in the future. So Tuesday, July 29th will be all-day education day with the live viewing and the on-demand access of the different breakout rooms. There'll be 11 PDUs to be earned. We will have a call to presenters out in a newsletter. So if you're interested in speaking, if your office is interested in speaking, if you have a friend or a colleague that you think would be captivating, energetic, and informative, let us know. And we'll open up that registration probably by next Friday. Okay, this is our summer season hiatus. We'll start at 9 p.m. So if you come here the first Wednesday of July or August, as a few chapter members have in the past, there won't be anything down here. If there is, it may be a dental association or a realtor meeting. And I'm sure they'd love to have you, but we won't be here. So we will be back down here Wednesday, September 3rd. We will continue our lunch and learns in addition to the virtual day, and we may have a few outside the box things in July and August, but back here from a program perspective in September. Okay, you should have received a raffle ticket when you came in. Did anyone not receive one? Okay, so if you want to pull those out of your name tags. Our first two books are from Dr. Rosalind Chow, who's one of the great thought leaders from Pittsburgh, PA, if anyone has any roots there. So this is The Doors You Can Open, a new way to network, build trust, and use your influence to create a more inclusive workspace. So we have two books. They're signed with a faceplate in there that she graciously donated to us. So first number ends in 445. Anybody? Hey. Okay. She has too many books to read. Okay, consolation 428. Hey. There, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, and then our second book of Dr. Chow's is 443. We got a winner. And then our third book is retired Army General Stanley McChrystal's latest book on character, Choices That Define a Life. Did anyone go to the AI Plus Expo at the DC Convention Center this week? Okay. It was nothing groundbreaking, but my biggest takeaway was it was good to see the enthusiasm for AI, and just one of the more surprising things was that the line took 50 minutes for registration. You think they'd find a way to use AI to make the line faster, but so main purpose of me going and sneaking out of the Pentagon for a few hours was to get a signed book for tonight. So the good general signed it to PMI-Montgomery rocks, and there's the proof. So I didn't forge it myself, which I used to do as a high schooler. 425. Hey, historical. And if you don't want it, signed books make a lovely gift. So. It's just right over there, Mr. Okay, we're happy to announce our continued tradition of our November member appreciation dinner, which will be complimentary. We should have seating in this whole room and a buffet line either on the fringe or on the outside, and that'll be Wednesday, November 5th. And we're happy to have Dr. Jeffrey Jones brief on becoming Santa, which is a combination of project and operations, but it should be a fun, lighthearted, yet informative briefing to get everyone in the holiday spirit. Our next virtual lunch and learn is next Friday, June 13th. PMI has their own Gen AI learning model called PMI Infinity, which is free to all with a PMI account, regardless if you have a certification or not. As long as you have the account, you can access it. It is using common learning models for the majority of the information, but there's enough uniquenesses about project management and ways you can put in meeting transcripts and things like from your Microsoft Teams or your Zoom ones and get more project-based action items. So I'll be going over that next Friday for those who are interested. Okay, we're about to wrap up the second quarter of the year. So thus far in the quarter, we've had 33 members earn a certification out of our membership base of 1,904. So round of applause for them. You see a healthy amount are still getting the PMP, and the PMP still means something in the 21st century workplace in the year 2025. So that's good to see. One gentleman also got the Agile Certified Practitioner in addition to the PMP. So he spent most of the month studying. And then we had another individual earn her CAPM. And then she was like, that's easy. I'll get the PMP. And she passed that too. So good to see continued quest of knowledge. And we'll be going into more certifications and some study groups in the second half of the programming. For those who haven't seen yet, the talent gap report that PMI published for 2025 is available for download. Even though the general premise would be that AI is going to take a lot of project and program management jobs, they're still on a 10-year forecast to 2035, showing a gap in talent. Stateside in America and Canada, it's around 1 million, but in China and different parts of the country, it's in excess of 30 or 40 million people with project management skill sets that they don't anticipate they'll have for the needs. So I think that's encouraging news overall. The report's pretty interesting if you're data minded. Keep tabs on our calendar as when everything goes through your Gmail of webinars and events. I try to take the time to put those on the calendar. So if you find yourself with a spare minute, maybe something will strike your interest there. Does anybody need a job that would feel comfortable coming up here for a quick elevator speech so everybody here and online could be better acclimated with you or have a job that their company is offering? Okay, go ahead, sir. Or, yep, you go first. If you guys just want to line up, if that's not too weird. Just so everybody can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Georgiou. Some of you may have heard me a month ago. I have recently started a recruiting company named Hermes Solutions. I will leave a stack of business cards on the table at the entrance. I specialized in project management and IT positions, particularly in healthcare and health insurance. So if anyone interested or you know someone who might be interested, please help yourselves with a business card. And you have my name on the business card. I guess the preferred connection channel should be LinkedIn. There are only two Michael Georgiou on LinkedIn. Mine has a funny tagline. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Banikon. Today is my first time attending this meeting, and I'm excited to be here. I'm looking for a job. I have a background in international development. My company used to be a federal contractor, and over the course of my career, I have managed projects both here and then overseas in many parts of the world. I have a background in business. I have an MBA and public health. I've also done public health and agriculture. So I have a lot of transferable skills from there that will fit the corporate world. So anybody looking for someone with this background, please let me know. Thank you.
Welcome. Sorry to make you come.
Hi, I'm Susan Minishkin. Like our previous speaker, I was working for a government contractor in international development. I've been a project manager, project director, portfolio director, and vice president for international development projects for the past 16 years, multi-year projects, multi-million-dollar projects. I'm not an expert in public health like our previous speaker. My subject matter expertise is much more in performance frameworks, key performance indicators, stakeholder engagement. I have a PhD, master's, undergraduate degree, all political science, international affairs. Worked my first career in finance and international finance, and I'm bilingual in Spanish. I'm looking for a job, project management, project direction, and anyone knows of anything, I would love to hear. Thank you.
Okay. For anyone who's coming up on their PDU window and needs PDUs, we're one of the few chapters in the world that posts all the content that's approved to post from our speakers on our chapter YouTube channel. So going back to when the pandemic started in 2020 until tonight's presentation. So if you need if you're still able to remote work and need some background noise or a certain topic strikes your interest, good source of information. And everything from our virtual education day will be posted in individual segments on here for that July event. We're also one of the few chapters fortunate enough to have a sister Toastmasters chapter, so we'll invite their leadership up for some brief remarks. Round of applause for them.
Good evening. My name is Preet Kaur. I am the current PMI Montgomery County Toastmasters president. And just quickly introducing our club to the members here, we meet on the second and fourth Wednesday virtually, and then the third Wednesday we meet in person at right now Davis Library. And for Toastmasters, it's a group where you can come learn to better your communication skills and public speaking skills. And I'd like to pass it over to our VP of Membership, Alan.
Thank you, Supreet.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Matt, for allowing us to run this commercial without charge. The program will continue after this short message. Do you have anxiety before your job interview? Do you often sweat when giving a public speech? Do you have nightmares before, during, and after your date? If you suffer from these symptoms, ask your doctor about Toastmasters. Toastmasters have been used to treat these conditions globally for over 100 years. Many clinical trials have shown that Toastmasters can significantly improve the overall survival rate in stressful careers like project management, IT service, and government consulting. Try Toastmasters today and experience the difference. Common side effects often include behavior changes, such as improved communication skills, higher performance at work, even better relationships. I use Toastmasters 3 times a month, and I'm loving it. Footnote, affordable price, often covered by employer plan. Hashtag, go Toastmasters. Thank you.
Okay, our sister chapters in the spirit of Miracle on 34th Street are doing great things this summer. PMI-WDC 2 Wednesdays from now has their virtual monthly meeting with Mr. Ben Chan presenting on building your project leadership avatar for success. So it's a little bit AI and personal branding. And then they have a fun late July networking event at the Mortons in DuPont Circle. Havana Nights networking, cigars, bourbon, with some of your fellow project manager peers that you can get to know. PMI Baltimore this Saturday has a women's professional group at the UMBC Training Center in Columbia. So that'll be in the newsletter tomorrow. But if you go to PMI Baltimore's events page, registration there that's free. So any ladies in attendance that find themselves free on Saturday, that could be a good networking event. There's not a featured speaker, but there's a lot of interactive sessions and panels. And then PMI Silver Screen in 2 weeks from today has their field trip of Audi Field, which is the home of MLS champion DC United. So you can get acclimated. That's a little bit more operations and projects, but they will go into when they have major events, but still kind of a fun outside the box event that you could meet a couple of people that you don't know. It'd be great to bring a spouse or a friend. And yep, that's what's happening in the PMI area. Our education partners are still doing great things. So if you have a training education allowance from your company or are just looking to challenge yourself as we get to the second half of the year, just stay tuned to our website for that. And we're very happy to have Mr. Elias Senter join us for the first time. So I'll invite our co-VP of programs, Mr. Bill Ziegler, to introduce him.
Okay, so I've known Eli for about 10 years now. He's a serial entrepreneur. He was my former boss. I thought he would have a great presentation here for those who think that they might be interested in starting a business of their own in today's climate, and what kind of personnel to look for those, or not to look for those businesses. Anyway, I'd like to introduce Elias Senter and for our tonight's speaker. Here's the remote.
Guess I need this for that, don't I?
Put the microphone next to the speaker because you'll channel Jimi Hendrix.
Y'all can hear me all right? Thanks for coming tonight. I'm Elias Senter. Bill called me a serial entrepreneur. I think the actual term is sucker. Being here tonight is proof that I can be talked into anything. Speaking here, starting a business, just about anything. Forward. So tonight I want to talk about how bad employees make great entrepreneurs. And they can make really good employees too, if you manage them right. Quick roadmap. I'm going to give a hat tip to the inspiration for tonight's speech. Talk about some bad employee characteristics that are actually entrepreneur virtues. How you as project managers and overall managers can leverage your bad employees. If you're a bad employee, how can you survive organizations that aren't built for you? And if you're a good employee, I'm going to teach you a little bit about being a bad employee because there are important skills there. And then I'm going to tell you a story about high agency in 3 quick acts. And then I'll put in a shameless plug. That way I can write off the gas. And my contact card will be there at the end. So the inspiration for this talk was the foreign prison problem. Around about the time that detainees got sent to CCOT, my father sent me an email, and the email said, I picked you in answer to this question. I read down into the series of forwards, and the question was, who would you call to get you out of a foreign prison? So this is a question that, if you think about it, who is that person you would trust to do whatever was necessary to get you out? And it's a question posed by high agency. There's a wonderful one webpage, 30-minute read if you want to take pictures of the QR code, but it talks about the kind of person who gets things done, right? For good or for ill. The key takeaways from the essay are the person you want to break you out of that prison or free you needs to have a bias towards action, intellectual horsepower, a rebellious spirit, self-permission, extreme resourcefulness, and adaptability. And as I was going through that, I thought, I've known some employees that had all of those things and were a giant pain in the butt. And I'll admit, in front of this room of peers, I'm one of those employees. I was a giant pain in the butt. And until I had the right kind of managers and the right kind of positions, that made everybody's life harder, right? But if you have these traits, then you can really be an effective project team member, an effective manager, and especially an effective entrepreneur, because these are the kinds of traits you have to wear all the hats and get through all the problems. So my very second job was at McDonald's at 15. And at my 3-year tenure at McDonald's, I was fired 14 times. Managers hated me because I was arrogant. I did things my own way. I didn't tolerate disrespect. And the kind of person who ends up a McDonald's manager maybe isn't built for respecting people. But every time I got fired, the owner called me the next day, right? And these traits are often seen as problematic in organizations, right? Anti-authoritarian employees have very little respect for managers. They hate rules. They don't want to sit in a meeting. They don't love status reporting. They're offended by a dress code, right? And then there are lazy employees, right? People who just don't necessarily want to do the repetitive work, even if that was exactly what they were hired for. And, there are arrogant employees, folks that are so sure they're right in the face of opposition from experts, clients, their managers, leadership in the firm, that they won't listen to their peers. They're just so snottily self-assured that they are correct. And we've all dealt with those people for good or for ill, right? Sometimes you suffer them because of their output, and sometimes you dread their appearance. And of course, there are unpredictable employees. You ask for a fruit and they give you a tomato, right? You may ask a quick question and get an entire dissertation, or they never give you an output that you expect the same way twice. That can be very problematic for project managers. And then there are confrontational employees, employees who argue loudly with anything, about anything, with anyone about anything, send regrettable emails at 8 o'clock at night after having worked a 14-hour shift to get some deliverable done. That can be very problematic for your organization or your project team. But they've all got to strike through here, right? Because all of those problems can be virtues for entrepreneurs. An anti-authoritarian is also a market disruptor. They can cut through bureaucratic red tape. They go directly to sources of power to get answers and decisions. They're outcome-oriented. They're principle-driven. They're anti-authoritarian because they don't want to see things done just for the sake of being done. They want things to be done the right way, whatever they think that is. Not always right either, but you can trust them to be growth and principle driven. And then those lazy people, some of the best employees I've ever had were the laziest people I've ever met. I had a great employee who his whole job for 1 week of the month was to transition an Excel spreadsheet into 140 PowerPoint slides of pie graphs. His predecessor spent 40 hours a month on this task, and he spent 80 hours automating the whole thing and saved us 40 hours a month for the next 3 years of that contract. We'll talk more about him later. They also, they're the employees who also know every macro, right? Every shortcut way to get through a mail merge, through Excel, to automate the transfer of information. That comes out of laziness. Now there's two kinds. There's the smart kind of laziness where you spend 8 hours to automate a 4-hour task. And then there's the dumb kind where you spend 8 hours making excuses why you don't have to do the work and end up doing the work anyway. But it takes both kinds. Arrogant employees are, in fact, confident. And that confidence allows them to make decisions, to push ahead through doubt. And they're a convicted advocate for the vision of the project if you get buy-in. They're willing to argue with anyone who is in the way of your desired outcomes. And then those unpredictable employees who brought you the tomato for fruit, they'll defy experts to bring you something new. They will not accept the common wisdom, and that is where you get change and innovation from people who are willing to take risks and bring uncommon solutions. And then that confrontational person becomes an advocate. They stand up for what they believe, they'll stand up for their team, and they won't be bullied by people who want to derail you or your efforts. Now, I'm talking to a room full of managers. So all of these bad employees can be good employees if you leverage them correctly. If you're frustrated by these folks, we're frustrated. It's okay. But we're also an arrow in your quiver. So stow that frustration and point us at the problems in the way that will get us to work for you. First and foremost, discuss priorities, not tasks, right? These folks like me are not task oriented. They are outcome oriented. So if you set a priority, they will help you. If you give them a task, they may impede you.
Quick question.
Shoot.
In terms of that, like, can priorities still have an end date?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's my next bullet, right? Provide full ownership of the scope and the outcome. So they do better when you give them ownership of their responsibility and you empower them, right? That also means giving them the deadline, the outcome. What are the outcomes desired on time, on budget, and these qualitative outcomes, right? But give them the authority. Don't micromanage this type of employee because they'll be reactive and they won't give you their best work. Check your ego. These people are good tools. But if you lead with your ego and not with your outcomes in mind, they're going to resist you. You will clash. You'll lock horns, and you'll get less done, and everybody will be sad about it. And build incentives, not rules, right? I'm not going to give you a work example. I'm going to give you a parenting example. I have one child who wants to be outside, doesn't like schoolwork. I have one child who you cannot punish them by sending them to their room because they'll just read for 16 hours. You cannot provide the same rules and incentives for these two children, right? Or for employees that are differently motivated. That first child can be motivated with rules and consequences. That other child has to be motivated with incentives. They're mutually exclusive and they're based on personality type, right? You've got to work with the right structure of motivation. So, for the bad employees in the room, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. I'm here to represent us all. I'm going to give you some feedback from my business school of hard knocks because I didn't get an MBA. I just survived a failing company and started a successful company and worked through all the mistakes you can make in running a business. If you think you know better than the boss, don't argue with them. Negotiate for the outcome you want. Telling your boss that you're right and they're wrong is probably not going to get you your desired result. As managers, though, be receptive to that negotiation. They're trying to get you to where you want to go. They think they've got a solution. Leverage that energy, that solution-driven energy, to get to your goals and to keep those employees on track. If you're a bad employee who is, a chaos goblin, you got to realize that not everybody you work with has your disdain of process. Lots of folks thrive in that environment, and you want them to because they're going to do things you hate doing. But that means as that bad employee, you have to invest in that process. You have to hand off deliverables or processes that you're giving up, having gone through the storming phase. You have to invest in the norming and performing so that people can take up the reins if they are, you know, solid maintenance performers. You got to give the energy to that you gave to getting to the initial solution. You got to find your niche. People with these traits tend to be generalists. But in that arena, you also have to find your specialization. So if what you're good at is being the guy who can cut through red tape for your project, leverage that, learn that, and advertise it, right? Let people know what you're good at, because you don't want to be stuck in a position where you can't excel. And just like for managers, we problem employees have to check our egos as well. The best career advice I ever got was from the first program manager I ever worked for. And he said to me, after a very contentious meeting, Eli, being right doesn't matter. If you've pissed off everyone who can help you accomplish your goals, then being right didn't matter at all. So if you want to achieve anything, check that ego and focus on your desired outcomes, and the path to your desired outcomes will always involve people who don't necessarily and immediately agree with you. And if you're one of these chaos goblins and you've got a steady and consistent job and it's driving you crazy, have a side hustle. Not only can your side hustle turn into your next business or job or passion, but it can keep you sane while you're doing a job you don't love. All right, good employees. So the initial thought experiment is about having high agency, right? Being able to drive through difficulty, to move out of complacency into action. And the nice thing about agency is we have agency on our agency, right? We can decide to behave differently by shifting our paradigms. So don't worry, you can be bad employees too. By taking some paradigmatic shifts, right? Except that within the bounds of physics, all problems are solvable, right? They may be expensive, right? We know our project management triangle, but all problems are solvable. You just have to get the necessary cost, budget, and capability to get there. Schedule, cost, schedule, and capability. I didn't write it down, so. No laws but physical laws, no rules but customs, right? This is about maneuver. If you decide there's a goal, then what it takes to get to that goal is what you need to do to achieve it, right? Do not accept the decision of others that you can't do that. If you're trying to get somebody out of CCOT, then you can't accept that the only route is to ask nicely. No one's coming to save you. There are no adults. It's just us. There's no outside authority that is going to make all right in the world. If you want the change, and unfortunately, it's still you that has to do it. Nobody does it for you. And no one ever got rich and or famous by doing exactly what everyone else is doing. You have to do something that is uniquely yours and find that route to your goal. And it won't be sitting at your desk doing what is purely and simply expected of you. You have to go outside of the baseline expectation. So, a quick story of high agency and the tragedy of poor management in 3 acts. A lifetime ago, a firm I worked for hired a project management manager straight out of grad school and put him on a $1 billion Navy program as the project management officer, building a project management framework. This PM, not a PM by background, social scientist, had to build a project management framework for a $1 billion TOA program without a list of its projects. Had 2 EVM analysts and 2 business analysts on the team, and learned a lot of hard lessons about collaboration, being right, not being offensive, but also about leveraging problematic people. There was this employee who was lazy, who got hired because he was a fraternity brother, but he was also smart and automated that 40-hour task, changed a failing project into a profitable project literally overnight because he didn't want to do a tragic amount of grunt work, which opened up the whole team for other projects. So everybody who had initially been billed on a single fixed price contract was now available to take on other work. They improved the firm's project management. They took on additional projects for NASA, wrote congressional reports, all on fixed price contracts. It was a very profitable quarter for that firm, all because of this kid who wanted to wear flip-flops in our business casual office. And that manager let him. And then that manager moved on, and he was replaced by a very qualified, competent, traditional manager hired over from Booz Allen, who hated that kid on site because he didn't want to wear slacks to the office. And inside of 3 months, they had parted ways and they lost that talent. And with that loss of innovation, couldn't meet new expectations, and that division quickly became unprofitable again. You don't want to kill that golden goose just because it likes to wear flip-flops. So that's, I don't even know how long I've gone on because I forgot to hit the button. That's my high risk talk and high agency talk in a nutshell. So quick cybersecurity question, because that's what I'm doing these days. Who took a picture of the QR code? Go ahead, raise your hand. I'm only going to mock you a little.
That's the reason I didn't.
Don't do that. So in the early 2000s, when the Chinese Communist Party was distributing malware via USB stick, we learned some critical lessons about cybersecurity and strange sources. QR codes are the modern Trojan USB stick. If it didn't come from Netflix asking you to confirm on your phone, then don't use it. That first slide, it also had the URL on it, much safer. So a year ago, and a little bit. I exited from the first firm I started and was instantly bored. And so now I'm working in a cybersecurity firm where we're providing CMMC services to other small businesses. And I've written a lot of software, led a lot of IT projects, but I'm not a cyber guy. What I was an executive that was offended by the cost of CMMC quotes that we were getting as a small business. So I had a partner who had done over 100 ATOs for the Department of Defense, and CMMC is really the light version of RMF. So we decided we'd enter that space. And the angle for us is that CMMC is not rocket surgery. This is not hard. It's basic cyber hygiene. It shouldn't cost us a fortune as small businesses. In fact, it won't be sustainable for the DoD if it does. You should be, and probably are, doing most of it as a small firm or a medium firm. And if you're one of the larger firms, you're working at Raytheon, they're 100% doing it. They don't even have to think about this. And most small GovCons probably already own the licenses. But we're doing this business now, which is a complete pivot from what we did, because my partner and I are bad employees and didn't like the kind of results we were getting from industry. So if you need CMMC services, come ask me. I'm glad to point you in the right direction. And mostly I don't want to sell you things you don't need. So that is one of our market differentiators. This is me. 30 minutes, I think you're welcome. Thank y'all.
Go ahead and hang around for questions.
I will hang around for questions.
Okay. My first one, like I look at realtors as entrepreneurs, and the realtors that you know, they're looking for the opposite of them for their staff. So most realtors are very outgoing, social butterflies. They know how to communicate with people. They know what people need. But what they're looking for on their staff is that data-driven person that's detailed, that's organized, that is behind the scenes. So as a hiring manager that's a bad employee, are you looking for good employees, or are you looking for
both?
mimics of yourself?
To be both. If you put 6 of me in a room, we will get a lot of things started and very few things done, right? But when I talked about investing in process, even if you're the bad employee, right? You got to invest in that process because that's the piece that gets you to done, right? That last 10% doesn't get done without process. And it's not a victory until the last invoice goes out and gets paid, right? So you got to have those people. They keep the train running, right? You may be the conductor, you may be the bulldozer that clears the trail, but man, without those folks, you get nothing. Now, do I also hire those folks? Absolutely, because I know what I can point them at, right? I know that if I promise them growth, if I give them scope and opportunity and responsibility, they're going to outproduce my expectations. But I don't ever hire them alone, right? I pair them up with somebody who is their counterpart, just like your realtors, right? Realtors need somebody who can make sure they show up to their scheduled meetings.
Okay, thank you.
For work that requires teamwork, how do you manage this kind of employee so that it doesn't disrupt, the team efforts, or it doesn't disrupt the team effort, that the team is able to function effectively?
Well, 2 parts. Part of his purpose, their purpose, is to disrupt the team, right? That's part of the role. But they can't just be a disruptor. So you have to help them collaborate if they're not good at it. That talk, Eli, it doesn't matter if you're right, if nobody will help you, right? That's a very trainable moment. And anybody who wants to get stuff done can learn that. And if they can't, then they're probably too bad, right? Like there's a spectrum, right? You want bad enough. You want James Dean bad, not Charlie Manson bad.
And how do you keep that from turning into, oh, you're treating this person different than everyone else in the office? How do you not have employees, jealous of one another? Because this person gets to wear what they want and I can't. How do you deal with that?
Well, it depends on the incentives that really are motivating people. And some things you can do in an egalitarian manner, right? Make it a team incentive. It doesn't have to be an individual incentive, but it has to be an incentive that will drive behavior. And also, some incentives are not public, right? And some incentives are already in your HR policy, right? Training, support, mentoring, that's already built in. We don't give it out uniformly. People are not uniformly interested in it. But I had a great programmer who worked for me, and he was very easily incentivized by, hey, I've got this new project for you. There's a new language that I need you to learn. There's new technology involved. I'll send you to the training. And if they're the right kind of person, that growth perspective, right, really drives them.
Okay.
Thanks.
No further questions. Round of applause for Mr. Senter. Okay, Mr. Senter's been generous enough to let us post the slides in a PDF form, so those will be in the upcoming newsletter. If you want to go back to anything that you said, it'll be on the YouTube channel tomorrow. Still light outside, so enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Thank you for being a member. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you back in person the first Wednesday of September. Thank you so much.